Right, today we're going to be looking at squishies. Squishies, if you're not aware, are basically just hunks of foam. Usually they're shaped like food, sometimes they're not, sometimes they're shaped like other things, but usually they're shaped like food, usually desserts. And we're going to be looking at 5 of them today. I got all 5 of these off Amazon. They were all only a couple dollars each. And there are some squishies out there that cost upwards of $20 and $30. I think that's ridiculous. You could not get me to pay $20 for a hunk of foam, and frankly, nobody should be paying that much, no matter how good they are. It just seems ridiculous to me, but I guess it's your money, and if you want to pay $20 or $30 for a hunk of foam shaped like a cake, that's your prerogative, and I'm certainly in no place to judge because I've spent money on very silly things before. Anyway, we're going to start. This is a croissant. It's a pretty small squishy. And as you can see by how long it takes to pop back into shape, it's not particularly pliable. The edges here are kind of hard. And it does, a lot of squishies, including the turtle that I showed off a couple of videos ago, have this kind of fake bread dessert smell painted on them. And I personally don't like it at all. Some people might like it, but I do not like it. This one doesn't smell too strongly, but if you put it up to your face, it certainly will. You'll smell it quite strongly. This one I think was maybe only listed thing was less than $2. It's quite small. Doesn't particularly look too realistic. So let's move on to the next one. Next, we have another bread product. We have a Happy Bread Loaf. I think my camera is slipping. Let me put it up a little bit. Okay. Now this one is made of very soft foam, which takes quite a while to snap back into shape. It's got 4 cuts. You can use it to hold business cards, I suppose, if you're into that. Supposedly you can hold your phone in it, but it's really quite shallow. And I don't think it would be super good for that. It's got a very bready texture. It's not smoothly molded, but that doesn't really bother me. It's more realistic if that's important to you. This one did have that same kind of nasty fake dessert smell, a little bit more strongly than the croissant does, certainly. But I think if you just kind of let it air out, or if you play with it for a while, it will wear away eventually. This one's paint job was a little bit cruddy on the bottom, but not too bad overall. So we'll let that one go ahead and pop back into shape. And, would you believe it, we have more bread! I like this one quite a bit. It is also very soft. It takes a bit to pop back into shape. It's got some bubbles on the bottom and the sides, which I don't mind. In fact, I think that's kind of nice to feel. And the paint job is nice. It looks like a bread, and it's a good size. This one also has the smell, but not too bad. Really quite minor compared to the Happy Bread right back there. And it could maybe fool somebody. Alright, next one we have is not bread. Next one we have is ice cream. Now, as you can see, this one did have a little loop on it that you could have maybe used it as a cell phone charm back when those were a thing. But I cannot imagine why you would use something this enormous as a cell phone charm. This one really doesn't have much of a smell. It had a little bit of like a plastic smell, and it's not quite as pliable as some of the other ones, but it's a nice size. It's got sort of a differing texture between the cone and the ice cream part, which is a little bit smoother. And it comes in different colors. Mine is green for some reason. I saw that the one in the Amazon listing was brown, and I imagine there are probably some other colors. But again, a good size, very reasonably priced, and doesn't really smell. And the last one is a peach. This one, I was surprised at how big it was. I got this one yesterday. And this one is quite soft. It takes quite a while to snap back into shape. It does have a little bitty hard bit on the top here, but there's no hole in it, so I guess it's just to make it kind of like a stem. This one, again, really not much of a smell. Just a kind of a fake foamy smell, which isn't really noticeable unless you put your face right up against it. So this is actually probably a very popular one on Amazon. But it is nice, probably the nicest out of all of them. And honestly, if you want to get a squishy, I really think that you're better off just going for one that's a couple bucks, because even if it turns out to be crappy, you know, you're not out $30 or $20. And ultimately, this is still a hunk of foam. You can hear my cat is making noise over there. What are you doing? What are you doing, Sheba? Ultimately, it's still a hunk of foam. It's still likely to crack and peel after a while if you handle it a lot, so I feel like you're better off just getting a cheaper one and letting it run its course. Out of all these, I would recommend the peach and this bread. And once again, I will put the listings in the video description. So I hope if you were planning on buying a squishy, perhaps this informed your decision somewhat. And if you just like watching me squish things, then I hope you enjoyed that as well. I will see you next time I have some things to make a video about.